It's the breakfast wrap. It's Thursday. It's Neil Atkinson. I've got Teza Simakulwa. I've got John Gibbons, and we're settling ourselves in. We're with our friends at Pal Finishers, and the World Cup absolutely has kicked off. But then so too transfers have kicked off, and managerial changes have kicked off. It's a massive Thursday. We've also got some of your jingles to come. We've got some chat on about Muno on Iriola to come as well. John's been to a school in Anfield to get the underlying story of what happened with them and the Foo Fighters. And we've got a couple of clips for you as well, some gutter and some other bits and pieces. John, it's all go. What a packed show.
I know, I picked a terrible one to turn up late. There's so much to fit in already. And I made it even harder. And a terrible one with the traffic lights. Apologies. But
so it was just the lights that did you in, because I've been on my map checking where's gone red. So, but you're saying it was just because Teza had traffic issues as well.
I did, yeah. I came from South Liverpool, and there was roadworks, one way lanes, stuff like that.
There's a lot of roadworks at the moment.
There is.
A lot of roadworks, you've got to watch it. But I just had a bit of bad luck on the strand.
Okay. Just absolutely did you in. The map's not that red currently. There's a lot of roadworks over in the Birkenhead Park and Tranmere areas of the Wirral as well. I've got my eye on them. But, you know, I knew neither of you were coming from there.
No.
So that's where we find ourselves. What all these are doing in really last night. The United States game arguably is the most boring. So we'll just sort of put that to one side. Let's do England first, Teza. Yeah. Let's talk about England. I think the first thing to sort of take away from it is if England are going to achieve what they want to achieve in this World Cup, it is so much of it just going to come down to the fact that Harry Kane is incredible. The second in particular, the first I think the goalkeeper should save, but it's a good ball from Gordon. The second, I think in particular, is the sort of thing that only players like him do. There's 3 or 4 of them showing it at the World Cup, but as soon as the ball comes to him, all he's thinking is, how do I get me shot off? And it's such an unerring finish.
Yeah, we've had quite a good World Cup this year so far, with all of the kind of top players showing up. Mbappe, Ronaldo took a little bit of time to come to the party, but he's here. Messi, Haaland, and Kane's been delivering for England. And I think what he showed yesterday was relentlessness. He just said, continue giving me the ball, and when I get an opportunity to have a shot, then I will. I think England played all right in the first half, probably a bit better now post-game reflecting on it than when I was watching it, just due to Congo being really, really disciplined, sitting in, and it was difficult for England to break them down, like they struggled against Ghana and Panama as well. But I think what they do have is an abundance of attacking quality, and I think Kane kind of leads that.
He does lead it, John. I think there's value in. I don't think it would be reasonable to say, from what I've seen of England, and certainly from the way people have been talking about England, I don't think it would be reasonable to say that any of the lads who played in wide areas have played particularly well. But at times there's just a lot to be said for throwing people at the problem, and that's what he did yesterday. He just threw people at the problem, including eventually putting Rice at right back. I'll just keep throwing lads in this area, and suddenly something will break.
Yeah, it's funny because the 2 lads who come on, Gordon and Saka, played much better than the ones who started, but you wouldn't necessarily say, well, you've got to start them now, because it might be the opposite. Next game, he just doesn't know. You know, Gordon hadn't played particularly well in those first couple of games that he starts, but then he comes on, and I think he's fantastic, and he's obviously gets two assists. I thought Saka was really bright as well, probably the best I've seen him play in the World Cup so far as well. But then you wouldn't necessarily say, well, them 2 are shoo-ins to start now, because all 4 of them, none of them seem to be in fantastic form, with the exception of maybe Madueke. I think this is just Madueke. I think this is the
he's the player he is.
Yeah, he is the sort of the player he is. But with the other 3, I think have certainly played much better than this in their careers. You know, I think that is completely fair to say. But just like you say, just having that variation, just having the freshness, just having the ability to go, right, I'm just going to change both of you and give the opposition different things to think about. Obviously new energy, but also just the styles and how they play. Gordon plays that left hand side very differently to how Rashford does, and obviously Saka plays it hugely differently to what Nani does. And so you're in that situation where, you know, as a defender who's starting to tire, who's you know, played, you know, up against it, you know, they were set up to hold what they had, and then suddenly you're throwing, you know, another top class player at them. It is tough, and there's been criticism of his obviously squad selection. and I understand it with certain players left out, and he's made some big calls, and so I get there's always going to be people who say, well, I'd have done this, why hasn't he done that? We've obviously all got club loyalties as well, which comes into it, different ones here. But people say, well, why haven't you picked my guy? But you can see his thought process is what I would say. You can see how he's thought about who he wants to start or who's likely to start, and who he's wants to be coming in from them to sort of make an impact. I think you can see that throughout the squad and certainly in wide areas.
I mean, Teza, I think, also makes a big difference as well. When he came on, Teza, I thought he was bright, and I thought he showed a real desire to get on the ball in specific areas where ultimately Anderson and Rice, they want to arrive into those areas possibly, but they don't want to start there. And I think that there's a subtle difference in that. He's not used Rodgers over the course of this game. He's got that option as well. There's still Watkins, there's Tony, there's other players that he's got, and I think that front loading this thing with those attackers in terms of just being able to repeatedly just turn the handle, I think it works for him. But I think part of why it does work is because the constant is Kane. I'd argue he'd probably quite like it if Saka suddenly went to the best version of Saka, because you could just rely on that as well then, and then you vary in everything else. But he hasn't got that at the minute, but the one thing he knows he's got is Kane.
Yeah, and I think adding to your point and also John's point in terms of the squad selection, some of the players that he's left at home would actually probably suit how England are playing now, because England, even though they've picked probably say more physical players who are able to run and take plays on 1v1, the players who are better in the small spaces in between the lines are the ones at home, and that's kind of how England are playing. And sometimes it looks like they're force feeding some of the options they have. I was watching Rice pick up the ball, as you were saying, in the left side of the channel, and he's trying to turn on it while he's receiving it in the half term. That's not his game, and it makes him look more awkward. And then he moves to right back, and he looks like he should be playing right back permanently, which I actually do think he should be for England, but that's another thing for another day. And sometimes it's almost like, yes, Tuchel looks good because he makes the changes, but it's also what he's trying to accomplish with the players he's starting looks a bit awkward at the same time.
Last thing on it, John, is I feel a bit sorry for Congo. Not quite as sorry as I feel for Senegal, which we'll come on to in a minute or two. But I feel a little bit sorry for Congo because, listen, let's be clear. I suspect if you'd have offered them, you're going to go out in the last 32 to one of the more fancied nations, they probably would deal on that in advance. But on the hour mark, they wouldn't be human, some of those lads, if they're not thinking we are going to be some serious heroes tomorrow morning when we get home.
That's it. They're in an unbelievable position, and the later it gets, you're only human. You're going to start thinking about, what's this game? We might just win this game, we're off to the next round, and who knows, in your dreaming. And then, but once Kane gets the equaliser, you sort of feel like there's only going to be one winner, and I did fancy it in normal time as well, and that's where it comes to. They suddenly get the momentum, they get the heads up, suddenly your legs start getting a bit more tired, don't they? You've had a tough game, but you feel you got the adrenaline, and when you're 1-0 up, but when the equaliser goes in, you start to feel it a little bit more. We've seen that over the years, and so it's tough for them, but it's tough for so many of the teams who go out, isn't it? And that's been the thing, the group stages was all a bit of a laugh, but now it's knockout football, and for every team that goes through, there's one who you're at.
I'm not asked about the Bosnians though, John.
Well, I mean, they didn't.
You know what I mean?
They didn't really turn up. I'm more asked about the American lad who got sent off. I think they're so harsh, those red cards, aren't they? Because I just don't believe he's had any intention to do it. And you say, well, you need to be careful, but people jump and land in football, and I just feel for it because he's had such a good World Cup, and now he's out for the next game. But no, I mean, generally, I've been a bit more emotionally invested in this World Cup than I expected to be in terms of just everyone. Really, you're watching it, and there's been some teams who've done so well and gone out already, and you do feel for them. But it's been nice to see some new African teams in this tournament. So obviously, I mentioned on a show a couple of weeks ago, we're used to seeing Nigeria and Cameroon, for example, as being every 4 years they seem to be there. They're not this time, but other teams have come, and with the exception of Tunisia, that it just always looked a bit of a mess for. Everyone else has accounted themselves fantastically, and it's brilliant to see.
I think part of that, I'll come back to it first, John. I think part of why you've felt that is, I think that every set of players, it's felt like have had supporters. and I think that's the nature of the cultural mix of the United States.
Yeah.
You know, at the minute we're very down politically on the United States, but part of the reason why we are is because it's been this sort of place where you feel as though there's so many different communities that are able to exist and come together. And I think you've seen the huge positive of that in this World Cup. It feels like everyone has got a little bit of their own home section, and the players are feeding off that, but you also just get to see it in a really, like, it feels like everyone's at the very least got a really healthy away allocation, or it feels like they've actually everyone's got a home allocation. And I just think that you know, as I say, there's lots of reasons why people are, why I am sort of down on the United States from time to time at the minute politically. But the flip side of it is, but this is why the US is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing.
There's a really good interview that I encourage people to listen to on the BBC with Tim Ream, and he talks about the support the Americans are getting, and he's like, oh, what's it like playing in your home stadiums? He said, does it feel like, you know, and do you ask him to compare it to the Premier League? And he said, I'll be honest with you, you might surprise this, but as an American player, I don't feel like I've ever had a home game before this. And they were like, what do you mean? He was like, well, every time you play, like, he was like, America's an immigrant country, and it's like, we're all immigrants, we're all sort of come in, and so, like, every time we play a Copa America game and we're at home, it feels like an away game, because everyone just sort of comes in, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah. And he was like, you try and play Mexico in LA and tell me we're at home. But he was like, he said every time, he said what's been brilliant for them for this World Cup, and America are getting so into it, and they believe they can win it, and fucking hell, why not? But they're in this situation now where they're turning up, and 3/4 of the stadium is American fans, and they're all going crazy for them, and they've just sort of never had it before. And so but as you say, all these other countries, or all these other communities who are living there, you know, like Iran will play a game in the US, you're like, oh, where are the Iranians gonna turn up? And it's like, oh, don't worry, there's this big community of them in LA, and you're like, of course there is, because that's how it is. And so it has really added. I think the crowds have been fantastic, and I think, you know, you're seeing that back and forth. I mean, you've seen the passion, and you've seen what football means, and it feels like everyone's getting on, which is brilliant. And it feels like, you know, I loved it when you see like an end and it's all fans apart from like one guy who supports the other team, and it's like going crazy. You know, that I love that, because that's how sports should be. But yeah, it's been fantastic, you know, for as a spectacle for the World Cup. But I mean, England and Mexico, that's going to be something else in terms of like the noise. I was listening on the way in to 5 Live, and there was, you know, a Mexican journalist talking about it, and he was very good. But just before it, David James was on, and he was like, well, I've never played in Mexico, but you know, it might be like, well, he was talking about times he's played in Turkey and things like that, and maybe that's a comparison. And then this Mexican journalist come on and went, listen, I love David James, I grew up watching him, but he's got fucking no idea. He didn't swear it was the BBC, but he was like, it's gonna be like unbelievable. Yeah. So we're staying up for just for that, I think.
There we go. Want to talk about the game between the Belgians and the Senegalese, Tez. It's heartbreaking, not least because, I mean, Paddy came in and Paddy said, you know, did you watch that? And I said, well, I was watching that. And then I was no longer watching that because one team was absolutely whacking the other, and it was 2-0. And I thought, well, I'm just...
I nipped to Tesco.
Yeah, I just went to bed. And then saw that it got back to 2-2, and then had to re-engage. Even the underlying numbers, you know, on expected goals, yes, Belgium's 1.8. Senegal, that includes the penalty. Senegal 3.4. They absolutely battered them. They've got out, and it just feels remarkably harsh.
Yeah, in the second half, in particular, when they were 2-0 up, it almost felt like Senegal felt we could score at any time. But because we can score at any time, we're not really going to go for the jugular. They almost kind of held Belgium at arm's length to say, okay, if you try and counter-attack against us, we're just going to bring in Mbaye when he came on, or, you know, they made some changes in midfield when Kamara came on to freshen things up. And they tried to just kind of continually but slowly chip away at them. But realistically, what they should have done is just try to kill the game off. You know, 15 minutes or 12 minutes left in a in a qualifying game in the World Cup, and I think they just wanted to see it out and thought the threat of Sarr and Mane and Mbaye would be enough to just hit them on the counter if Belgium came back into it. But as soon as Belgium brought Lukaku on and kind of moved the ball a little bit quicker, then they were able to get the ball in the box, and bam, bam, before you know it, it was 2-2. And I don't think from that moment they ever recovered. They were probably thinking, oh, actually, wait a minute, we're not going to go through here. mentally, even though they were still playing and there was extra time to go. But I think in that moment, because they hadn't been in that situation before, they kind of let the game peter out. And then, unfortunately, they went out. And, I watched it up until about the first half of extra time. And then, I just thought, I'm going to go to bed here. Because I just thought, Senegal aren't going to go through. So, no point in watching it.
It's such a good Senegal side, John. I mean, because we get to know these players now more and more across years, you're able to just sort of look at it and list their names and go, well, Ndai's good, Sarr's good, Mane's good, Nicholas Jackson comes on, and Bailly's a really hotly touted footballer as an individual. You've got the two gays in midfield in there. You've got Kamara, who comes on, who's currently being linked with a 40 million move to the Premier League. So for me, it wouldn't have been a surprise at all if Senegal had put Belgium out. And I thought that they looked great, and I thought they played great, and I really do feel as though at the minute, in your World Cup of hard lines, I think Senegal right now are number one team.
I don't know. I think you can talk about hard lines. And listen, Belgium feel like they must have got away with one, but I think I agree with Teza. I think they'll look at it and go, well, how could we have approached the game differently? How could we have managed it differently? I know there's been issues with the manager already since the game. One of the players has come out and said he's not playing for Senegal again until the manager goes. There's issues there. I know there's been stuff around his contract and things like that, and so it feels like there's been a few things bubbling under. I know there was a lot of criticism for them in Senegal after the home game, just because expectations were so high. They're going there feeling like the AFCON champions, whether they are or not. The courts are still deciding, but they're certainly going there feeling that. But the first half, they looked phenomenal, and like I said, on 60, I was just like, well, you've got to get the young family these shopping chips in when you can. I was like, I'll just nip out now, and then I got back to the car and I was like, oh, was this game still played? There must be a lot of stoppage time, and it was extra time, and I just couldn't believe it because it didn't look like that was going at all. So looking back on the highlights, Mane in particular has a huge chance at 2-0 to make it 3, and that's about 15 minutes to go, is it? And so you're thinking, well, should he be taking that? Could he have used his subs better? He ends up with, I don't understand how it happens, but he ends up with quite an inexperienced team on the pitch for extra time. And I get it, you're thinking, well, Sadio Mane at his age got 120 minutes in him, but I think, if he'd have had his time again, would he have done that sort of slightly differently? Because of the way the game had gone and extra time, I think that's where you need your leaders. You need you guys to galvanise and go, listen, right, 0-0, forget everything, this is extra time, we play for 30 minutes with a better team, let's go out there and win it. But the kind of guys who would say that, he was taken off. And so and I get it, I get that kind of why that's happened, and you can't plan as a manager for, well, what if we could see 2 goals in the last 5 minutes of a game? You can't plan for that, really. So it's just a shame, really, because I was starting to think about, Joe, when they're playing so well, and I was thinking about Morocco as well, and thinking like there's 2 African teams there who could go really deep in this competition, and then you've got 2 North American teams who I think have got the ability and certainly have got the belief to go deep in this competition as well, and so you're thinking, well, this could be like a proper World Cup here. Could get quarters and semis, and you've got a genuine variety. Rather than always being Europe v South America, this is an opportunity. And then, listen, Morocco still might do it, USA sort of still might do it, really, but that's you talk about getting ahead of yourself before with Congo. That was me. I was thinking, this is fantastic, the way we could be looking at quarterfinals. There's 3 different continents, and it feels like anyone's. That would have been great. Maybe we'll still get there, who knows, but it won't be with Senegal.
All right, some updates from the chat. Scott McCauley's been on. The sun is shining Market Harbour, but the wind is causing havoc. There's reports of plants being blown over, which is just hugely concerning. I think we can all agree with that. In there as well, we've got our, from OWA Busy, we've got our update around the Heathrow Airport area. It's grey, ugly and overcast. Suddenly come on in the space of 1 hour. Absolutely huge. Overcast in Eldoret, Kenya as well. Rain expected this afternoon, but the traffic is moving relatively smoothly. It's back to sunny days though in Sydney, which is great to see. Excellent news there across the board. Good to see that they're sort of moving forward. John, awful news from George Reed. There's temporary lights on the way into Flockton. It's backed up in both directions. George has a 9 a.m. and it's touch and go, to say the least.
And I know he couldn't have got out earlier. He's got to sort the kids.
A terrible time from Gareth Wall in Pontypool this morning. A burst road water pipe has meant a Tesco run for bottled water at 7 a.m. The Aldi, just as a note for the future, doesn't open until 8. But kids are ecstatic. School is closed.
Really?
So if you're in the Pontypool area, school is closed today. You can very much relax and take it easy over the course of the day. But having to shut schools, the never-ending roadworks on Chilbolton Avenue are causing long delays in Winchester, said David Gibbons, presumably no relation. And traffic in Dunboyne, County Meath Island is shocking, as expected. Paul Collins
says as expected.
No, I'm saying I've editorialised there. I'm saying because as expected, as often happens, a herd of sheep have escaped on the Maynooth Road. It's caused carnage. Okay. John, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last.
They don't care, do they?
They don't care. Listen, we've got some of your jingles that have been entered into our jingle competition for all of our fantastic friends at Pal Finishers. Here are some jingles.
If you wanna paint your house at midnight, just ask the pal to give you a hand. And if you wanna gotta hang your paper, just ask the pal to give you a hand. Oh, oh, Pal Finishes. Oh, oh, Pal Finishes, finishes.
No job too big, some jobs too small.
Whatever painting job you started, Pal Finishes.
Absolutely huge. John's only got the name of one of these two, so we'll sort that out for next week.
The second one's Dave Jacks. I'll say his name later in the programme. My phone's over there.
His phone's over there. We'll sort of a part two. The first of those as they've gone. Teza, we'll do Nottingham Forest first. Loads of news, loads of football news. Forest going to end up with Oliver Glasner from nowhere. All feels remarkably ruthless in terms of letting Pereira go.
Yeah.
If, as per reports, at 2 minutes to midnight, which does feel like a joke / a lyric / quite literally the clock that ticks down for nuclear or holocaust in this country. Worldwide. Sorry. 2 minutes to midnight. That's what's happened, though. That's what they've gone with. I thought it was mad when it looked like Glasner wasn't getting a job anywhere, so maybe this has just been going on under the surface for a while.
Potentially, but in terms of how it's been executed, if he's, Pereira's contract's been terminated at 11:58, just before the deadline, maybe, Marinakis was in the boardroom and he just did rock, paper, scissors.
I think the plan was to go in with him, and I think they've just gone, one last throw of the dice, just see if Glasner will come. Honestly, and
don't you think
really last minute, and then he's gone, and then they go,
because apparently he was in all the chats about pre-season. He was getting ready. He'd been to M&S, got some new clothes for the holiday, stuff like that. I think someone's just gone, and then I can't imagine the Glasner plan was to go to Nottingham Forest. Like for to leave Palace and all that, I think he expected a bigger job.
I think he thought he was getting Man United.
Yes, and it's not
in January.
Oh, in January.
Well, yeah.
It's not happened. Whatever he thought, it's sort of not quite happened, and so I think it's a late throw of the dice from Forest to do it to sack him at 2 minutes to midnight. I mean, I don't think it was that late.
That's when he got the email. I mean, maybe he just didn't check his emails.
yeah, maybe. I mean, it's an interesting one. I actually think a club like Nottingham Forest suits Glasner because Glasner really hit the highs with Palace because Palace were an underdog team. They hadn't won anything for X amount of years. He's come in, he's won back-to-back trophies. He's been able to, whether that's him or just a Palace approach to, attract players into the club has been able to kind of then sell them on for bigger profits, and they've been able to continue. I think Forest, are they in Europe next season? No Europe. So it gives Glasner, no distractions, a full season to kind of get the players playing in a way that he thinks is best. And we know that Marinakis is probably going to back him with some players as well, even though I don't really think they need players because they've got quite a decent squad. So I think all round he's probably looked at it and thought, I can probably replicate something similar with Palace. Maybe not going and winning trophies, but at least getting them into consistent Europe.
I agree, but I also think he thought Man United when he get Man United when not Iriola, who was the Amarim was still there, and then that recedes, and then I'm absolutely convinced he thought he'd get Newcastle, and then Newcastle decided not to sack Eddie Howe. And I genuinely think he thought, well, someone's going to give me a job here because there's this much that's going on. And I think he's ended up with Forest. And I do think that you might actually be right. Maybe 3 days ago they just rang him and thought, should we just see if he fancies it? And he's sort of gone, well, it's this or no. Conversation back home, it's this or no work. Yeah. It's Nottingham more. I'm doing nothing.
Kick him around the house.
Yeah, and you don't want me under your feet.
Yeah. It just does show though that often people will say, like, when like a player's treated badly or a manager's treated badly, people are like, oh, you should be doing this. No one will go and work there. Like, they don't give a fuck. Honestly, like, it feels like it doesn't matter what this chairman does to footballers. They just go up. They go up a level. It's not like they're scraping around. Oh, no one wants to come here because you're mad. They're like, you ended up with better managers. And so it just shows. And I think there's something in the fact that players and managers go, oh yeah, but I'll be brilliant, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they just back themselves to be a man. And I think players do it as well. People do it with Chelsea all the time. Oh, why do these players go to Chelsea? They just stockpile young players. It's because that young players go, yeah, but I'll be signed, I'm fucking boss. They'll just play me. So no one ever thinks that's going to be them.
I think there's that, but I think there's also just an element of, and this comes back to when we talked about other things with, for instance, what happens to Schlott this season when there was a lot of people who genuinely felt sorry for him, which absolutely fine. I felt a bit sorry for him as well. But they're all in the business. They all understand the business of football. Yeah. They all understand it's a bit how this thing works. I know, and they're all signed
the business is then there's been sacked by email at 2 minutes to midnight.
There is no 100%, but no, I agree with that. But there's probably part of that fella though, the Pereira himself. You know, look at his record with clubs. He stays nowhere more than 12 months. Yeah. He's never stayed anywhere more than, I think it's 16 months is his record staying at any one club. So even he must know. Well, at any point here, I could just get bulleted. Schlott does the press conference, doesn't he? Before his last press conference, he says, "Well, it's football. Things can change quickly in 3 days."
Yeah.
And that is just the case. And I just think everyone is in on the industry. And to your point, though, I think there's another part of this, though, when players, and listen, you always want your club to get the best possible deal, but this is the flip side of this, when players are trying to absolutely get every last penny and every last thing they can out of a football club, and everyone's like, oh, why won't they show any loyalty? It's like, well, things like this could happen to anyone who works in that industry at any time. Yeah. So if everyone acts like a bastard, then everyone's going to act like a bastard, because these are your options. You either do that, or you're the one who ends up feeling like a mug. And Pereira will be fine. He'll have another job in this country in next February where he's going to save someone from relegation, and he will not still be at that club come November. It's not what he's in it for. Going for a pint and going from there. On Iriola, John, there's a quote from Munoz. He called me, he said, and gave me confidence. He told me how his teams play, which is something that benefits me a lot, that way of constantly pressing. I think it's an ideal context to continue growing as a footballer. That verticality, that way of trying to break games, that pressure of trying to suffocate the opponent. These are things that he looks for in an extreme, and they were very important for him to make that decision. It's just interesting that the way in which Iriola himself came in first interview, he said may not all be the same as it was at Bournemouth, but there'll be a lot of similarities. This is what we do, this is what we're about. Very clearly he's made that crystal clear as well when he's had this phone call with the one sign he's made so far.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if he's someone we would have gone for if the manager change hadn't happened, because in theory, you know, he should suit out how Slot wants to play as well. So maybe they would have gone for him regardless. But it does feel like that this is one that's, if not necessarily driven by Iriola, but very much nudged, you know, in that direction. And he's one who he feels like could make a big impact for him. He's obviously had an impact on the player in terms of, you know, persuading him to come, although you'd like to think that, you know, Liverpool doesn't need much persuading, but, you know, he is interested. It is interesting that he's sort of part of that. And on a Slot was going out to visit players and stuff, and something that he was apparently very, very good at, you know, crucial in the Verts decision. But just hearing him talk about what Iriola said to him, quite interesting. I like the word suffocate. I'd like to see us suffocate teams more, metaphorically, of course. Until Man United come to Old Trafford, and then maybe get a less so. But I think from a Liverpool supporter point of view, listen, you can do all the talk you want, but, you know, hearing Munoz there talk about what Iriola said to him about what he wants from a Liverpool team, I think Liverpool fans on the whole, will enjoy that, because I think that's what we want to see from a Liverpool team as well.
Transfers have gone quite mad. We'll go into detail a little bit more in a minute or two, Teza, but all of a sudden Tottenham, and I do think it is massively influenced by the manager. I suspect there's a little bit of a vacuum there, and I suspect he was able to say, if I keep you up, this is what I want us to do, and we're going to do it quickly. Both ins and outs now as well with Tottenham. There's the players that bought in on the free transfers, and now there's a lot of money. I think rebuilding the structure of that team. They actually have a lot of attacking players. Tottenham, the issue they've got is so many of them are carrying injuries. It'll be interesting to see if they get on to doing anything there. What are your thoughts on them? Do you feel as though this is the idea that Tottenham are going to be a big coming force next season, or do you think that this is just the sort of thing that gets you from 17th to 7th in the first place?
I think overall it's positive. It's a sign of intent. It's the whole previous 10, 12 years under Levy and whoever else was in charge. You know, Tottenham were always the team that didn't spend. Pochettino got them to the Champions League final, didn't get any extra players after that, and he ended up leaving the following season. And I think it's almost they're backtracking from that, and they want to now become and show that they have the intent and the desire. But as just mentioned, you know, they finished 17th 2 seasons in a row, and to go from 17th to a Champions League team, yes, I know Man United have done it, but Man United are different. The key thing that Tottenham are doing, which is really, really interesting, is really going high on the wages, which to me is very, very risky, because if you don't then get Europe, you're very quickly in a situation where financially things can go wrong. You know, they're talking about Tonali being on 275k a week, and then Mateus Fernandes being on 250k a week.
Put Gallagher on big money as well.
Yeah.
You know, and is he even going to start now with these guys coming in? Maybe they'll find room for them. I don't know. But I was thinking about Gallagher and thinking, well, if they put on him on a wedge too.
Yeah, and then any other player who comes in afterwards who thinks that they are better than those players, or at least equal in talent, or they've been shown the ability, whatever league they're coming from, are also going to say, well, if you're going to give them that kind of money, I want that kind of money.
Or Kudus has 6 good months.
Yeah, and he goes, well, I was the star player, I've just been injured. And I don't know whether it's going to be good in the long term. It will look like a masterstroke of genius if Tottenham are then in the top 4, top 5 come the end of next season, because that will then allow them to continue that, and then they'll probably be able to attract a higher standard of player on top of what they're doing currently. But in just on the kind of surface level of the transfers, I like some of them. Some of them are a bit like, are you just getting them because you can? The Van Hecker one looks good, but does Van Hecker start if Romero and Van der Ven stay?
I think Romero's going, and that's the one who is definitely going. I think Romero will move if they can find a taker. So that's a 1-in, 1-out situation. The midfield's probably more interesting than the attack, because I know they want to probably potentially Bergval's being linked with like Newcastle and Nottingham Forest and a few other teams, but Papsar still there, Bentancur still there, Archie Gray still there, Gallagher, as John mentioned, is still there. Then you're going to add Sandro Tonali, then you're going to add Mateus Fernandes as well. Then if you go slightly further, you still got Maddison. Kulusevski hasn't played for over a year, and then Kudus plays slightly from the right, but he was playing as a 10 as well. So you're talking about 9-10 players who are going to play in those midfield roles. There's going to be a lot of change and swap over in that, and it might be good for the rest of the Premier League, because they just go to Tottenham, go, can we have him? And Tottenham will have to get rid of them because they need to, just to clear up squad space. Yep.
But in general, I think I need to see the holistic kind of overview of all the signings. Not too impressed with the attack currently.
Okay, excellent stuff. Let's move forward. We've got, what did you do on Tuesday, John?
Oh, yes. So a lot of people will have seen the video of the primary school at Anfield Road who went to Anfield, who played a song for the Foo Fighters. Then as soon as I saw it, well, my first one was, this is amazing, and my second one was like, how on earth has this happened? So me and Henry, who's over there, went up to Anfield Road, spoke to John, who leads the choir/music group there at Anfield Road Primary, and question 1 was, how on earth did this happen?
Let's go.
It is John Givens from the Anfield Wrap, and I'm here at Anfield Road Primary because many of you will have seen the amazing video on social media over the last couple of days posted by the Foo Fighters, where a young, very talented group of people all sang, played for the Foo Fighters at Anfield. It was an incredible experience for them. Well, that school was Anfield Road Primary, and the man who was leading those talented musicians, you largely saw his back. We're seeing his face today is John Agnew. Thanks for welcoming us down to the school, first of all.
No problem at all. Very pleased to have you. Thanks for coming in.
Well, as soon as I saw the video, I thought, I need to know how this happened, because we see this incredible 3 minutes of these children beaming faces, singing beautifully and playing for the Foo Fighters. But how on earth did it come about?
Well, in our school, we have a weekly singing assembly, and the head teacher leads the singing assembly, Claire, and she's a big Foo Fighters fan. So when the Foo Fighters were first said that they were playing Anfield, Claire got us to have tickets, and but we were singing times like these as part of our singing assembly, because we kind of sing more popular songs rather than traditional school assembly songs. So Claire kind of had the idea of trying to get the Foo Fighters into Anfield Road Primary School to basically come and watch us sing during one of our singing assemblies. So that was kind of the spark of the idea. So she asked another teacher, Danielle, if she could maybe put some feelers out on social media to see if there's any interest, if anyone could bite, and hopefully with the ultimate aim of getting the Foo Fighters into our school to watch our assembly. So that was what Danielle tried to do, and Danielle, very competitive, likes to get a job done, very determined. So she kind of started putting some feelers out on social media. And other than a few parents reposting what she'd posted, nothing was really happening. And then Danielle did a bit of digging online, got some email addresses of what she thought might be Foo Fighters management. And along the way, got an email back from the Foo Fighters management. So the digging she'd done actually came to fruition because she got the right email address.
Wow.
Along the way, a Foo Fighters fan page had kind of reposted, and Danielle was thinking, well, that's good. You know, that's probably the peak of what's going to happen. But the Foo Fighters management got in touch, and then it went into another world of organisation. I think Danielle was on the phone to LA every other night, New York, London, all these people getting involved trying to make this amazing thing happen for our school. So the record company said, the management company said, we love the idea of your children singing times like these. It's not going to be possible for the band to come to school. How about we invite you to Anfield to sing for the Foo Fighters? And so obviously everyone's jaw dropped, and there was a sense of, listen to what's going to happen. We could, meet the Foo Fighters. So, and then from then on, all our singing rehearsals were very much geared towards this song, getting ukuleles to do some little ukulele playing, bass player, percussion players, to just like flesh it out, to make it more of a, like a musical experience rather than just like a choir, if you like. And that's how it happened in a nutshell. So it's, we had, like I said, we had a dream of having the Foo Fighters into one of our school assemblies, and we ended up performing for them on stage at Anfield in front of them, the family's crew, and it was just an amazing day, hottest day of the year. It was quite magical, I've got to say. It was really lovely, very good.
Absolutely incredible to hear all that, and fair play to Danielle for doing all that work and all those phone calls. I'm sure it was a lot of organisation.
It was, and it's taken a lot of time. A lot of her evenings, a lot of her free time has been spent putting this together. And I've kind of chipped in along the way when people have wanted to know about technical things in terms of how many players have you got, what instruments are they playing, what's the setup on stage, and in fact I found myself in email threads with about 9 or 10 different people from production company, record company, management, sound guys, and all these different people. I'm thinking, well, that's an awful lot of people just to get us over the road to Anfield. But then when you see how smoothly it went, then you realise that's why it went smoothly, because so many people were very good and gave the time, the talent, and had the dedication and the goodwill to give our children an amazing experience. And we are so grateful for them to that, because they have given our children a memory that will last a lifetime.
Absolutely, and like you say, it's a stone's throw to Anfield, and people could probably guess from the name Anfield Road finally how close it is. But when we parked outside, you can see the stadium. But I'm sure for a lot of the children, it was the first time actually in the ground, even though they see it every day. And so to be in there and performing and to be with each other, especially, must have been such a magical thing. And then could they see the band from where they were playing?
Well, the children didn't know that they were going to meet the band.
Wow.
We kind of kept that from them a bit. The idea was, we knew that the children were going to meet the Foo Fighters. What we said to the children was, the Foo Fighters have invited you to Anfield to perform on stage. They're going to be in the building, in the stadium, and if they're walking past, great, and see us. If not, no worries, we've still got to play at Anfield. But we knew that they were going to perform for the Foo Fighters. So, and they were absolutely thrilled. We were on stage getting ready to go. And then they came out, onto the pitch in the arena, and I had my back to the children. I had my back, so I couldn't see, but I could tell by the children's reactions, because all I could see was. So I thought the Foo Fighters in the building. They were, and so I turned around, and then they were all there just waiting for us to perform. And lovely, because we were on stage. The band have a big runway that they use as part of the performance to like zip up and down. And so the band and the family were at the end of the runway. We were on stage, and it was just, it was kind of very nice. It was good. It
was incredible seeing, Dave Grohl, one of the most famous musicians in the world, sat there almost like a school kid, wasn't he? Sat in assembly, watching, this big grin on his face. And when you watch, young performers singing and just loving music together, it does remind us all about the magic of it, really, because for them now it's a job, and I'm sure it's a job that they enjoy, but I'm sure they love just watching some children for a while just sing for the pure fun and the pure enjoyment of it.
And I have to say, they were amazing. They were such the loveliest bunch of guys. They were so giving of their time. Once we'd finished the performance, because it was a very hot day, we went backstage where it was a bit cooler. They did question and answer sessions, signed autographs, signed ukuleles, got selfies. They gave as much of their time as they possibly could to our children. And not just giving the time, but they gave themselves. They were very good-natured, so warm with the children, so generous. And it made an amazing experience even better, because to see the genuine goodwill from them to our children was just, it took our breaths away. We can't thank them enough. We cannot thank the band, their crew, everything to do with the Foo Fighters management company, record company, everybody involved has been unbelievable. And we are truly grateful for that.
I want to talk a little bit more about music in this school, John, because we were talking a little bit while Henry was setting up about the importance of music and what it can do for young people. I was lucky enough to learn trumpet from the age of 7 or 8 in school, with teachers who come in. You're here primarily to teach children music, which is a rare thing to get in the primary school. So I would say that they're lucky to have you. But how important is music within the school, and what opportunities do the children get to learn as part of their overall education?
An awful lot. I mean, firstly, the school is big on the arts. So the arts drive everything in the school. Just everything, anything to do with arts, painting, drawing, music, dance. The art is involved in right the way through everything we do. We're a very diverse school, very diverse pupils, very diverse staff, and the arts help bring that diversity together to learn and play and have fun, and gives us a focus for so much. And music is very much a part of that. So I teach music to year 1 right the way through to year 6, and that's just gives me so much fun. I absolutely love doing that. And we try to make it, obviously we combine it with their curriculum. So for example, if year 1 might be learning about a certain book, I'll do music lessons to go with that book. So for example, we did we wrote and performed a little soundtrack to a book. So, you know, we could read the book and then there'd be sounds coming in and out, and that was great for the children. More recently, in year 6, they're studying the human body, and I've used the GarageBand app, which is electronic music, to create music based around the human body. Doing the Greeks with year 5 at the moment. We've been doing some ancient Greek music. When we've been studying China and the Silk Route, we've done Chinese music, we've done Middle Eastern music, we've listened to Bon Jovi, we've played Bon Jovi. So we've done an awful lot with music. It's a massive part of the school, a massive part of the school curriculum. And in addition to that, myself and another colleague, Nikki Meredith, we do an after-school club of an evening, and that again just helps us to hone in on some particular talents for people who are particularly interested in music and playing different instruments, drums, keyboards, ukulele, bass, whatever the instruments. You know, if we've got it, we'll have a go of it.
And
So-
you can see that all come together on days like this. And so when you play for the Foo Fighters, and the kids are so talented on the solos, is because they're using music all the time and just learning to work together to create something. I think is really powerful as well. What it teaches all of us, really.
But it's amazing, and we spoke about this earlier. But the confidence it gives children, because they're learning skills, they're having a chance to perform. And I was speaking to some children about music and what they thought about music a couple of weeks ago. And one of them said that the reason that they thought music was important is because it gives everybody the opportunity to be good at something, which I think was a really powerful statement, because people thrive in different areas of the curriculum. And we are very fortunate that we have a leadership team, head teacher and 2 deputies, who are passionate about art and who make sure that the arts run through our school. They make sure that diversity is celebrated in our school. And we have a motto in our school of being a world in one school. And that's what we try to be in everything we do, in music, in the curriculum, in the ethos of the place. We really want to celebrate that diversity, and music, is very much a part of that.
Just finally, what's it meant to the whole school, but particularly the children? It involved maybe the teachers as well, to kind of have this experience, really, because it is a gift, isn't it? And it's an amazing thing, and it's something that everyone involved will remember forever, and it's going to have a lasting effect on people. Something to happen like this, it is that big.
Well, I think it's given the children a sense of belonging, because they've been on a journey since they knew that they were going to be going to Anfield. They've been trying their hardest, so they've been honing skills. It's given them a sense of team, because they're working alongside their classmates, their friends, on trying to make this performance fit for rock stars. And so they've put a lot of effort into it. They've invested a lot, time-wise. They've invested a lot emotionally into it, as we all have. And I think it's just given them an amazing sense of satisfaction and fulfillment that, that we try to give them in Anfield all the time, but we're no substitute for the Foo Fighters. So they've got something that, we couldn't, give them alone.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I'm quite a substitute for the Foo Fighters either, but listen, I've really enjoyed speaking to you today, John. Thanks so much to inviting us down to this incredible school where you're doing amazing things. And honestly, kudos to all of you who worked so hard, even harder than I thought, and that I'd have known, to pull all this together and to give this amazing experience to the children. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff, John. Let's get some housekeeping done. Who was the first jingle at the end of the previous part?
So it was Clive Stairs. So apologies to Clive, who's got a great rock and roll name. Clive Stairs did the first one on the acoustic guitar, and then Dave Jaggs from the Ragamuffins, who plays at Hotel Anfield before every home game, put together fantastic electro-inspired music video.
Excellent stuff indeed, and great to see those kids there looking out across Anfield. Absolutely brilliant stuff from start to finish there. Lovely to see. I said we do some more transfer news as we go through. Teza on this. Brighton have ended up doing 2 centre-backs in 2 days, which very much to me feels like we've got a job, we've got a list of things we want to do. Should we just sort centre-halves out? So I think they've sorted centre-halves out, Struijk and Vuskovic. Vuskovic very, very highly thought of. Not meant to be great on the ball, but great at everything else that you need to be a centre-back. Struijk, I thought, showed a lot of qualities last season. I'm not saying that both of them are going to be starting from day one for Brighton. Brighton seem to find it difficult to prize Lewis Dunk out of that team. But it does look to me as though they've gone, right, this solves our centre-back conundrum for the next few years.
Yeah, but it almost seems as if they might have maybe one too many centre-backs now as well. Is Adam Webster still in the book, so his contract running out?
Webster's contract went, and I think Boscoli is gone back to Italy, so he's moved. But I still think they might still have one too many, yeah. Yeah.
Because as long as Dunk is still there, the captain, I think he'll want to play as consistently as possible. Obviously, I know Van Hecke's gone, so they did have to do some deals. Vuskovic is an interesting one. I know he played at the World Cup for a bit, but last season when he was on loan, he mainly played in a back three. And I think normally sometimes when you play in the middle of the back three, it's because they want to protect you with a bit of pace and mobility. And he will probably take a little bit of time to adapt because I think he's still 17, is he? Or maybe
19, he's 19.
Oh, he's 19 now. He was signed when he was 17 by Spurs. So the Spurs have made a massive profit from him because he hasn't really played any Premier League football. It's just a case of him being highly rated, obviously really talented. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", so he's probably physically ready to come into things, but Premier League is different, and especially when you're a young centre-back, there's not that many young centre-backs that come straight into the Premier League and start every single game, so there'll be a learning curve. Struijk, on the other hand, he's had more Premier League experience. He's got a good left foot as well. Sometimes, again, played in a back three or back two. I think he'll probably be the one who kind of slots in a bit more regularly. They're probably looking to replicate Van Hecke's ability on the ball by signing Struijk. Bit surprising Leeds actually let him go, because
there was a bit of a statement from Leeds, which was in part because of his service. They wanted to do right by the player.
Okay, so it's the idea of
he's been there for so long, and
bigger club come in, we'll let you go, we'll make a bit of money. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I think the decent signing's quite lofty or hefty in terms of transfer fees. I think it's almost combined near enough 80 million for two of them. Near enough 26, 27 for Struijk and about 43.5-ish for Vuskovic. For Brighton, just on centre-backs, before they've even addressed maybe signing another striker because the young lad tore his ACL, or in case Minter leaves and they have to sign a winger. So, yeah, but exciting stuff for Brighton.
Yep, Bazumana Toure from Hoffenheim, John, mildly linked with Liverpool in the transfer committee game, is gone. Looks as though he's going to be going from Hoffenheim to Newcastle for 42 million. He's a wide player moving, which means that you'd like to think Liverpool have made the decision that they didn't want him. What with Liverpool still needing a number of wide players. He's left-footed, but he's predominantly played on the left through his time at Hoffenheim. He's not played on the right. He's like a proper one, like you like to say. Yeah. He plays on that side.
They can do it. It is allowed.
It is allowed, and that's what he has been doing. It's Newcastle stepping in, obviously, because they've now got a lot of money burning a hole in the pocket from Gordon and Tonali, and they need to do something.
Yeah, I think Newcastle fans looking at it will be relieved if and when they get it over the line, because they've found it tough in the transfer market, both in terms of keeping hold of players, but predominantly signing replacements as well. They end up a bit of a mess in the last window, and I don't think anyone they brought in has hit the heights that they wanted. And so if they can get this one over the line and it looks like it's close, then I think Newcastle fans will breathe a big sigh of relief, and it's on to the next one because they have got other stuff to do, but it sounds like a decent start.
I think with it, other moves, by the way, Brentford are looking at trying to get Jadon Anthony in from Burnley, Teza, also Jan Fleming as well. They want trying to do a double bid for these two players.
Both feel very Brentford.
They do feel very Brentford. They both feel very canny. It's worth saying Fleming scored 11 last season, which is a key number of Premier League goals for a side that's going down. He looked like a goal scorer.
On that, Ronald Koeman was asked, and said, why didn't you take the Premier League player who scored 11 goals to the World Cup? Why didn't you call him up to your World Cup squad? And Coleman's response was, who's that? he wasn't really sure who knew that Zion Fleming was playing in the Premier League 1 and had scored that many goals. So now maybe playing for a more reputable club, he might go to the next Euros with the Netherlands.
Well, I mean, but it won't be Koeman as manager.
Yeah.
Ronnie the Reds has gone on to pastures new, and we'll be sorting some other bits and pieces out as and when he gets there. It is Jadon Anthony again. It's when you're saying that these are quite, that this does feel quite Brentford in amongst it. John, and he got 8 last season as well.
And always felt like he played well against good teams.
Yeah,
I think he scores against Liverpool, and I don't think Liverpool are the only.
And United.
And I think so. He seemed to play well in these big games, which I think bodes well for the fact that he does belong at that level. So yeah, I can completely see where Brentford are coming from. The famously good operators in the transfer market can spot potential, can spot value. I have no idea what these players would cost, but feel like decent ones to me.
Yep, indeed. We'll move ourselves along with another couple as we're going through this. Hackney to Everton. Teza, medical looks like it's happening, so that looks like that's getting done. They've gone in with a big offer there. Well, a big offer, I suspect, to Hackney in order to sort it. For me, it's a snip at the fee. They're getting him for 16 million, rise until about 22, 23. Just seems like that's boxing clever from an Everton point of view.
Yeah, in a world where midfielders on average are going for around 60 to 80 million pound, I think Hackney's been one of them consistently in the Championship, looking like the best player in the Championship. And we've seen other players like Maddison and Wharton, Eze, Elise, they've all played in the Championship and made the step up. So I think Hackney would also do that. The interesting one, Hackney is a little bit like Garner and a little bit like Dewsbury Hall. So I don't know whether it's a case of we play them all together or it's a case of one plays, one doesn't. I can't really see a world where Garner and Dewsbury Hall don't play week in, week out. But I think it'd be a good signing. I think Moyes likes technical midfielders and he'll just kind of fit in. And I think less pressure moving to a club like Everton because he was linked with Spurs. He has been linked with United in the past as well. And I think if he had made that move, he probably would have had less game time and it would have derailed his career. But now, not saying that Everton are stepping stone, even though they might be. If he does really well there, he could get another move and Everton could make times 2, 3 on top of whatever they paid for.
Last little thing, John, because it's Liverpool adjacent. I think we've always get linked with Eduardo Camavinga. Supposedly Manchester City, in this talk of Manchester City, another player, Manchester City seeing if they can get him in to play alongside Elliot Anderson and whoever else. Supposedly he wants to stay at Madrid. We always say this, these players always come out and then they always come out afterwards and say, I'd quite like to stay at Madrid, please, and see if I can make it work. I would feel a little bit like Camavinga is exactly the sort of profile of centre midfield I'd like to see Liverpool going for. So to see him linked with City, I'm taking this as more of a blow than Elliot Anderson or Tonali or etc. etc.
Yeah, it's generally got a bit quiet for Liverpool in terms of midfielders, and not just Camavinga, but other links as well. We're not seemingly part of the conversation for Anderson and Tonali, which I'm completely fine with at the prices that they're going, but it doesn't seem to be like there's, we're looking at this player instead, or our first choice is this. Or now maybe stuff's going on in the background that we don't know about. That is a distinct possibility, but I also wonder whether, because the central midfield market has gone so mad, that they'll look at it and go, and actually a year of sticking with what we've got isn't the worst thing in the world with everything else we've got to do, and I think that includes Curtis Jones. So I think what they might decide to do is, okay, well, listen, McAllister had a poor year last year, there's no getting away from it, but he's brilliant the year before. Can we get that McAllister back with the new manager in? Can we just say to Curtis Jones, listen, with midfielders going for £100 million, you're not going to Italy for 25, we rather keep you for another year and assess that, and then everything you know, going in from
the thing with Jones though is he's out of contract, isn't he? That is the
no, after a year,
Okay.
yeah. But then they might think, well, what's 25 million going to get us when Elliot Anderson is 130? Is my point.
Yeah.
And so I think they might, you know, and who knows if the new manager might come in, absolutely love him, start him every week, and then suddenly Jones is like, well, yeah, I'll stay, because I think that's what he wants. He wants to play, and he wants starter money, and he wants starting. I think Curtis Jones, and so he might end up getting both under the new manager. Who knows? So it wouldn't surprise me if they're working on something quiet, and then something sort of gets announced, and then there will probably be one out from there. But it also wouldn't surprise me if they just have a look and go, listen, let's stick with what we got and see what the manager makes of it.
Okay, excellent stuff. Thank you very much for the breakfast wrap this week. If you've been enjoying everything that we've been up to with the jingles, keep getting them in. John at theanfieldwrap.com. He'll make a decision on that on Tuesday when he'll be hosting the Anfield Wrap, so there'll be an adjudication. Maybe there might be a viewer's vote. I don't know, between three of you in the comments, or some three jingles put forward. Do it in the comments and go from there. But I'm making this up as I'm going along. There's loads and loads of shows out today on the Anfield Wrap. Loads of bits and pieces coming towards you over the course of the day if you subscribe. There is a Talking Transfers, there's a Gutter, there's a Friday Night, there's an AFQ, there's Ben Jacobs on wide forwards. Probably these things are always a little bit could move if he's got something else on. Frankly, he's
in LA, Ben. It's hard to coordinate.
Yeah, we always respect other people's time, so it's very good of him if he can do it, and we'll be pleased to see if he does. But part of the reason as well, though, is because tomorrow is the anniversary of the passing of Diogo Jota, so there'll be no Anfield Wrap shows tomorrow in any way, shape or form. So over the course of tomorrow, don't expect to hear anything from us. As I said before, there's a Gutter today, there'll be a Gutter on Saturday, but there'll be nothing from the Anfield Wrap tomorrow. Just want to make you aware of that, and I'm absolutely certain the club will put some excellent stuff out that will be worth engaging with around Diogo and Andre Silva as well. And I think there's a memorial being unveiled tomorrow too. So that's happening across the board there. Nothing from the Anfield Wrap, but the week's been absolutely splendid. The football's been excellent. The transfers are livening up. Everything's kicking on. I tell you what, it'd be great if Liverpool did something. See you later. It's a big summer, it's a hot summer, it's going to be a summer of transfers. Liverpool have got a fair bit to do over the course of this summer. We know the World Cup's going on, but Liverpool have already dipped into the transfer market, and they will do again. When they did dip, the Anfield Wrap came alive with tons of reaction shows letting us all know about our new signing. If you sign up to the Anfield Wrap either through YouTube or through our app or through the website theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe, you can come in and be part of the journey, setting Liverpool up with a new manager, a host of new players and a new start going into next season.